Please call roll.
Sure. Sorry, my PC's going in and out, so.
All right.
Roll call. Commissioner Hoback.
Here.
Commissioner James. Commissioner Mortellaro.
Here.
Commissioner Babs.
Present.
Commissioner Bear.
Present.
Vice Chair Bell.
Here.
Commissioner Shake. Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
Commissioner Orr. And Commissioner Pessamorelli. Oh, and Chair Moore, sorry.
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
All right, sounds good. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. And I'm going to pause just to acknowledge we have got Commissioner Scheck joining us now. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. All right, the motion carries. We have an agenda which consists of just the consent agenda tonight. There are 3 items on it. The first is item 2026-84, approval of the December 9th Urban Renewal Authority meeting minutes. The next item is 2026-82, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Erie Urban Renewal Authority designating the town's official posting location for 2026. And the last item is item 2026-49, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Erie Urban Renewal Authority approving the payment of funds to the Town of Erie for the Colliers Hill Detention Pond improvements. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. We'll go on to public comment to see if anybody would like to address the commissioners with regard to the Urban Renewal Authority.
I know that we have at least one. I can't see my thing right now. I'm having a little problem with my PC, but I know that there's one to speak at the URA.
Okay, and online or in person?
They were in person, I believe. One was named James. I don't know who James. But then you guys signed up for URA as well, or?
Okay, let me just do this. Who in the audience would like to address this under the Urban Renewal Authority? We'll do the same thing for the council meeting. So is anybody here to address us on any topics related to the Urban Renewal Authority? You can come up to the podium, yeah, and just name and location for the record.
So do you guys pad this time a little bit for folks from the Midwest that speak a little slowly?
Unfortunately, no. 3 minutes,
I
fast
speak
talkers, slow
I speak
talkers.
a little bit slowly, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. So I'm Wade Fott. I live at 1100 Rue de Trust. I've been in that location since '02, so quite a long time in the Erie area. My property has been impacted by the stormwater outflow increases that have been created by the town of Erie development. So this is mostly coming from Colliers Hill and the westerly developments at this point. The detention pond on the north end of Colliers Hill releases outflow, crosses the Occidental Petroleum property, and then it crosses my property.
I'm going to pause you for a minute and look
Yep.
to our attorney because I'm not 100% sure if you should address the Urban Renewal Authority or if you should address the town council. So I'll look to our attorney to help give clarification because I'd hate for you to have to do this twice.
Actually, let me jump in a minute. There are actually 2 items, one on URA agenda, which you just approved.
Yes.
And another one, the payment and the actual construction contract is on the town council agenda.
Okay.
And both of those are the town and the URA committing to spend over $400,000 to fix the problem you're addressing.
Okay. So it is relevant to here because the money is coming from here. They're both on the
Good?
public way.
Yes?
You're good.
Thumbs
You're
up.
good. Yep.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right, so I want to very clearly state that I appreciate the town's efforts to improve the drainage situation for those of us that are in unincorporated Weld County. So we're outside of the town, and we definitely need these improvements, and I recommend proceeding but I have some concerns. So one of the concerns is the fact that, you know, the change contemplates demolishing the current outflow control structure. And for some period of time during that construction process, there will be no flow control structures in place in that detention pond. So that will be completely unimpeded. And per my understanding and discussions back and forth with the staff, is that that's being left up to the contractor. So I would like to have the council have some attention to this item. So there's going to be no flow control structures at all in place for some period of time. I also want to highlight a few items from the RESPEC documents. Those guys that designed this new detention pond outflow structure. The modeling provided, per my understanding, suggests that the proposed design will not meet the design targets for the Mile High Flood Control District. Both the 100-year and 50-year are over spec. The modeling provided, to my understanding, also would not meet the targets for that are outlined in Weld County Ordinance 2019-12. So both accounts, this new design don't meet those targets. So the vast majority of that outflow is now going into the Cottonwood Extension Ditch uncontrolled. This can affect all sorts of folks besides myself in Weld County. So I want to make sure that the city council understands that situation.
All right, I appreciate that. And I'll just look to staff to update us, council, on both items, the flow control, not having it, and what the risks are. And second to that, the Mile High flood control targets. Do those apply, not apply? What is the consequences? All right, thank you for. So time's up, and we have to really be just on those time targets. Otherwise, things can go south.
And there's
So.
too many people in line behind me to
I
give me
get
another
it.
minute.
I get it. You could certainly email all of us at council@erieco.gov.
Okay.
And that'll
But
get to
net,
us.
you folks are aware of all this.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming out tonight. All right. Would anybody else like to address the Urban Renewal Authority? And I'm looking to our clerk.
I don't see anybody online.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment portion, and we will adjourn the Urban Renewal Authority meeting, and we will go right into the council meeting at 20 to the hour. All right. Thank you for the Urban Renewal Authority members who came out.
Just
I'm sorry?
Ask for adjournment.
I just declared adjournment. Typically, we don't do a motion for that, but I can do that.
so,
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right, the meeting is adjourned. call to order the town council meeting on January 27th, 2026. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, will the town clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Pessamorelli. Councilmember O'Connor.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Baer.
Present.
Councilmember Mortellaro.
Here.
Councilmember Hoback.
Here.
And Mayor Moore.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, wonderful. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. We have an agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda tonight. The first is item 2026-19, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement dated January 1st, 2021 for the law enforcement dispatch services between Boulder County Sheriff's Office and the Town of Erie Police Department. The next item is 2026-42, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving a professional services agreement task order for Kinley Horn Associates for design services for Morgan Hill Neighborhood Park. The next item is 2026-41, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving a professional services agreement task order for Kinley Horn and Associates for design services for the Compass Neighborhood Park. Next item is 2026-43, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving a second amendment to the construction contract with A&M Renovations, LLC, for the rehabilitation of the Schofield Barn. Next item is 2026-7, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving a construction contract with GLH Construction, LLC, for the Colliers Hill Detention Pond improvements. Next item is 2026-52, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie accepting dedications as shown on the final plat for the Erie Four Corners subdivision, filing number 1, amendment number 4. And the last item on the consent agenda tonight is 2026-73, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving a second amendment to the agreement for professional services with Civil Resources, LLC, for final design services for the Boulder Creek diversion structure and pipeline conveyance project. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I think we have a motion by Councilmember Mortellaro and a second by Councilmember Baer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to public comment. And this could be public comment in anything that is not a public hearing. And so I'll look to our town clerk to see who has signed up.
Let's see. First, we have Rose Murphy.
Hey, is Rose here? Hello and welcome.
I'm here to speak just very briefly about the need for and thank you for the ordinances regarding e-bikes. The ordinances and also the information that went out in the water bills, although it did come to my attention that many people living in apartments and condos and townhomes do not get a water bill, so they are not aware of these. So please continue to make that important, or make that known to people. Secondly, we need signage in many places so that people getting ready to get on the multi-use paths know what is allowed. Thirdly, we need enforcement to begin now, not after a long debate. I know there are certain logistical problems to enforcement, but I'm sure between the council and police you can figure something out. And fourthly, I strongly urge that it happen quickly before someone gets killed or hurt, before some toddler on a strider gets run over by somebody doing 30 miles an hour in wheelies. So I'm going to defer the rest of my time to Lyle Witham, And that's what I had to say. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for coming out.
Next, we have John Murphy.
My name is John Murphy. I am an avid cyclist and a long-term Erie resident. Long-term. Things have changed dramatically on our bike paths. They're very dangerous. We have children riding electric motorcycles doing wheelies down our bike paths. The other day I'm riding along, and there's this kid, he's doing a wheelie trying to touch the ground with his other hand. This is not safe. These kids, they're 13, 14, they're middle schoolers, they don't have driver's licenses, and we need to get them off the bike paths. We need to enforce all of our ordinances, including dogs. I yelled at a guy, his dog ran in front of me, and I says, hey, there's a leash law. And he goes, who's going to enforce it? And so I have never seen a dog getting a ticket. I've never seen anybody, and I'm on that bike path a lot. And we need enforcement, and I'm appreciative of the ordinances. But if you don't enforce an ordinance, what good is it? And that's my statement. Thank you. And Lyle.
All right, thank you. And next up, I'm
Go
looking
ahead.
to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lyle Witham. I have been a resident of Erie since May of 2017, and I live in Erie Highlands Development at 203 Poppy View Lane. I am here to support your addition of a new section to 61120 of Chapter 11 and your amendment to Section 7605 of the Erie Municipal Code. I also ask that you form a task force to consider additional amendments. Robert Frost famously said that good fences make good neighbors. Similarly, good laws make safe communities. A good e-bike ordinance will lessen the probability of serious injuries and, worst case, preventable accidental deaths on the recreational trails of Erie. I also am here because I'm a retired person, a retired lawyer who often walks and rides a pedal bike an old-fashioned pedal bike on the trails of Erie. Thank you for creating these trails. Within the last year, I have often seen e-motorcycles and e-bikes operated recklessly and at unsafe speeds. An e-motorcycle is anything that is a class 3 or above, as you are defining in your new ordinance. I put together a short white paper I circulated just a moment ago that I hope will be useful to you in showing the public safety reasons for developing a more comprehensive e-bike ordinance than the one you're passing tonight, I hope. At the end of this short white paper, I ask that you consider doing the following: write a uniform set of ordinances consistent with neighboring municipal, township, and county ordinances in Colorado and federal laws that apply to e-bikes. In addition to law enforcement officers, please give authority of some kind to Erie Park employees after proper training to issue written warnings and take photos, videos, and other forms of evidence when violations of ordinances occur. Create significant penalties for failing to stop when a rider of an e-bike or other user of a trail in Erie is signaled by a law enforcement officer or Erie Park employee to stop. When law enforcement officers and park employees are in uniform and on duty, on the recreational trails and are subject to the jurisdiction of the city of Erie. If you're going to do enforcement between 3 and about 4:30 in the afternoon on school days would be a good time to consider putting folks out there. Clearly define the rules and penalties for reckless behavior or prohibited acts on trails, on trail and off trail. And finally, make parents legally responsible for any violations of the law by their children, and make parents legally liable for any damages or injuries caused by their children that violate the e-bike ordinances. This is already a part of Colorado law, but I think it would be something that would be good to add to the ordinance. I really appreciate you folks doing this, and I think it's really important for the reasons I summarized. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Let's see, John Rondash.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor.
Welcome.
My fourth time in here. I think my public speaking's getting pretty good. So now that my print's a little bigger. So I'm here. My name is John Rondash. Our property is 4242 North 119th. That's right on the cusp of Lafayette, Erie. And it's in regards to the KB home development. And I see some faces in the audience that we've talked to in great length. So following the development, KB Homes removed a subsurface monolith and discharged groundwater into the old mines that are there adjacent, parallel to our property without proper authorization and permits. This was found afterward because our pasture completely flooded. It redirected the groundwater to approximately 2.5 acres of our pasture that parallels the railroad, which RTD owns. I've spoke to them in multiple conversations and emails. Anyways, the dry pasture became a marshland, creating a new surface flow path toward our barn, yard, and house. These conditions do not exist prior to development. Groundwater versus surface water. It's a critical distinction. I think we've talked enough about it. We all know that the groundwater is very shallow there, but because of that intervening, going into pulling that monolith to push out the detention pond or whatever they were doing, it changed everything. So that groundwater was now surface water. The groundwater even closer to the surface, converting subsurface flow into active surface water. This artificial elevation of the water table caused persistent saturation, surface runoff, and property damage. This distinction must be formally documented through engineering analysis. The railroad culverts, we all know that there's 3 of them there. The railroad is from the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's amazing it's still operational, but 2 of the culverts have been cleared, so those 3 are open. So there does seem to be some progress. What we need is an updated hydrological study. In around 2020, from my understanding from the Mine and Protection Program, they did some surveys. We've been there for about 6 years. This is just as we came in January, frozen, no idea about water issues. The data predates KB Homes development and does not reflect current conditions. We are requesting a new comprehensive hydrological and hydrologic studies that document post-development groundwater displacement, mine discharge pathways, rail corridor drainage impacts, and surface water. Our basement was flooded. It forced continuous emergency pumping where our sump pumps, I had to put pumps in the sump pump area, pumping it out as 100 gallons per hour, 24/7. Land indicators. Our pastures now was overtaken at that time by horsetail weeds, a non-native saturation indicator species that did not exist prior to development. This vegetation is physical evidence of sustained hydrological shift. I wish I had my slides here. So accountability requires action. Temporary containment measures and repeated apologies are not remediations. We require a permanent engineered mitigation solution, update hydrological studies, multiple independent engineering analysis, developer-funded remediation, and municipal enforcement with a defined timeline. I heard this gentleman's been here since 2017 talking about that prior thing, so I hope that isn't our case. Direct ask. We ask council to require KB Homes to fund and implement an updated hydrological study, address the corridor with RTD, the drainage impacts, because the way it's set up is a percolating system, enforce accountability, and mandate a permanent engineering solution with clear oversight and deadlines. That's it. Thank you.
All right.
A little bit better than last time.
Thanks, and thanks for coming out multiple times here. Thank you. We're hearing it.
Meg Knopfinger.
Hello, welcome back.
My name is Meg Knopfsinger. I live at 4242 North 119th Street. That's Lafayette and Erie bordered. This is also my 5th time here asking for help that you don't let KB Homes finish what they're doing before you make sure that our property is protected, because I'm counting down the days till spring, because I know yes, we have high groundwater, and we've been there for 6 years, and we have that mitigated. When they started building, the entire neighborhood would walk down there and go like, holy cow, there's a river coming right from what they're doing all the way down the tracks. My basement has mold that I still am dealing with. My basement is ripped out, and I had just redid it before this. Like you said, the pasture was unusable, horses getting abscesses because the ground is so wet. We did have a talk with Mark Armstrong, I believe his name, at KB Homes. He did not have interest, curiosity, or really much to say except, nope, this wasn't us. And door closed. And the way he spoke to us was already like we were in a courtroom. Very formal, cold, shut the door. And so that's not somebody willing to, we didn't go right to lawyers. We're trying to solve a problem because it's our community. But we've allowed people into our community who aren't living here, have no interest except to make money. And so when I brought my kids in here before, they said, why does the town of Erie have a big tree as their symbol when all they're doing is ripping up our land and just building? There's no land anymore. And that property used to be where all the town kids kept their 4-H animals, and we'd walk over there and all the kids would be riding horses and training their goats. And so just think about that. I don't know how this works, but when people come in wanting to tear up more of Erie and build, and cause problems for real people who are just trying to live and raise their kids. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming back out.
Let's see. I don't see anybody online. Mr. Lott, did you want to speak again?
Yes, please join us.
Okay.
I'm glad you're getting a second bite at the apple.
Letting me come back up, I appreciate it. Yeah. So again, I want to state, my name's Wade Fott. I live at 1100 Root Trust in Erie. This is on the topic of the Colliers Hill Detention Pond updates for the storm control outflow structure. I want to clearly state again, so there's no misinterpretation, that I am very much in favor of completing this effort. However, I believe it's an incomplete solution based on all of the data, even in the engineering studies that inform this decision. They appear to be incomplete. The vast majority of that outflow from Colliers Hill, westerly, the Erie High School that was, built, 12 years ago, Soaring Heights Middle School, future developments in Colliers Hill Filing 6, and portions of northwesterly are flowing now into the Cottonwood Extension Ditch in an uncontrolled fashion. Another thing to factor into some of this discussion is the fact that the Summerfield development has buried a large portion of that ditch. So history is not informative on what the Cottonwood Extension Ditch will do now. The folks that are in Parkland Estates and Kamicar should be very worried about what changes have occurred in all the water going into the Cottonwood Extension Ditch. I want to point out that the documents that are provided to you folks for review and decision-making are actually inaccurate. All of those documents show the water flowing past the Cottonwood Extension Ditch, and it doesn't. So you're being provided inaccurate information, making decisions on inaccurate information. So I would like the council to review that. So I would like you guys to take up these concerns with your staff and try to come to a better resolution. If there's anything that I can do to help, unfortunately, I've done a lot of research on this, and I can help. I've got lots of images of problems. So I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming back up here and completing your thoughts. I appreciate that. Staff will get back to council on the items that you brought up. I want to go back to the item with KB Homes and Lafayette. There's lawyers involved in our side. I don't know what you could share, but I want people to know that we're involved and we're doing things. So I'll look to our town manager to share whatever he can, so that our public knows that we're not just sitting here and ignoring this issue.
Yes, staff have met multiple times, I think with the residents, with KB Homes. They've looked at various documents, including those provided by the state that has oversight in this issue. There are disputes over the facts. We are asking KB Homes and the state to resolve what their disagreements are over the facts so that we can go forward. At this point, it's still an issue between trying to understand what is actually happening with hydrological issues, and there does seem to be a difference of opinion currently between the state and KB Homes information.
And what is the timeline to get those parties together?
We're trying to get the state to respond. I wish I knew what that timeline was. I know our staff has asked them and asked KB to work together to try and resolve the situation. So
Asked, but there's been no response.
I'd have to refer to Sarah, if Sarah Nirmela, our Planning and Development Director, has been involved.
Yeah, just to the microphone, thank you.
Sarah Nirmela, Planning and Development Director. We have not received a response yet from the state. So, and it's not us, it's actually KB, and we get informed by KB as to the status of their communications.
How long has KB Homes been waiting?
They, I believe, sent their last communication with them on January 20th.
Okay, so a week ago. Okay. All right, thanks for the update. All right, we're going to move on. Let me make sure there's no one else online.
I don't see anyone online.
Okay, and is there anybody else in the audience that would like to address us tonight? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to general business tonight. The first item is 2026-51, a public hearing, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Erie approving the Canyon Creek filing number 11 preliminary plat with conditions. And so I'm going to officially open the public hearing at this juncture. And I'll turn it over to Chris LaRue.
Thank you. They just get settled really quick.
Yeah, no rush. Well, don't take too much time.
Oh, I don't have to get that comfortable. I wanted to make just a quick note tonight. I know there was a little bit of confusion between this project and another one. On February 18th, the Planning Commission will consider Canyon Creek PD Amendment number 11. It's at the southeast corner of Erie Parkway and Miller Street, and it's to discuss possible commercial designation for that site. Tonight, we're talking about a project that's about a mile north of that site. It's at the southeast corner of Lombardi Street and RTD tracks. So I know there is some confusion with that. I just wanted to make that announcement so that everyone had all the facts up front.
Yep, thank you for doing that.
Yes. All right, so I'm here to present the Canyon Creek filing number 11 preliminary plat. Here's where we're at in the development process. Typically, that you have annexation and PD zoning that occur first. Those were done many years ago in the past for Canyon Creek. We're at the preliminary plat stage, and so that's the public hearing process before Planning Commission and Town Council. There are future applications. If the preliminary plat is successful and approved, they'd have to apply for a final plat and DA, and that goes to Town Council on consent. There would be a site plan that's reviewed by the Planning Commission, And then if all of those are successful, we'd go to public improvement permits and ultimately building permits. So here's a quick project overview and location. It's highlighted on the map in the blue color, and that's at the southwest corner of Lombardi. I'm sorry, southeast corner of Lombardi and the RTD railroad tracks. Over here to the east is County Line. Down to the south is Tulane. This is east of Jasper. In the surrounding area, to the north of the site, you have the RTD right-of-way. That's north of the blue. Down here to the south, we have existing Canyon Creek development that's under construction for duplexes. Further south are some single-family homes. East of the site is Canyon Creek, but it's designated for drainage and open space areas. And then over to the west, we have single-family development in the Lafferty development, and then down to the southwest is Canyon Creek, filing number 7. And before I go to the next slide, I just want to note that all of the streets that you see to the south of the subject site continue through, or the alleys in the streets, and continue to the grid to the north into the townhome development. And here's the townhome development. So down here to the south, this is Carriage Drive. That's in Canyon Creek Filing 8. So all of the townhome development is new. There are a total of 81 lots. There are 15 tracks. All of the townhomes are alley loaded with garages. They front onto public streets or garden courts, and they continue with sidewalk connections to the surrounding area, to the spine trail to the north. So the site itself is designated, the 2005 comprehensive plan called it medium density. 2008 PD amendment changed it to medium density. I would note that it's always been designated for 275 units since 2000, and the 2008 amendment, it didn't change the number of units, but allowed a more variety of types of units. So it allowed townhomes, duplexes, triplexes. And then the current comprehensive plan calls the site as low density, or residential low, I should say. And then in the surrounding area to the north are the railroad tracks and then agricultural properties. To the south, it's the same designation, residential low, also to the east and to the west. So the zoning for the site is Canyon Creek PD, and I'll talk about that in another slide in a moment. To the south, it's also the Canyon Creek. Directly to the west is the Lafferty development. It does not have PD zoning. It's low density residential. So here's the slide that shows the Canyon Creek PD designation for the site itself. It's the most current version of that PD is Amendment 10, so it's gone through a lot of changes. And it does list that max of 275 units, which has been consistent for the last 26 years since it was created. And so they're proposing a total of 81 townhomes, and that's addition to the 88 units in filing number 8. So that's a total of 169 units that are in the area. But tonight we're just considering the 81 unit townhome preliminary plat. Here's just a slide that shows, there's a lot on here, but it shows the park dedications and requirements for this development, a lot of which have been satisfied with other developments, the Lafferty and Canyon Creek 7 and 8. You can see that there's community park. It doesn't require much of a dedication, so that's being satisfied with impact fees. Most of these are well under what we would want. Neighborhood park is already provided for in filing 1, and there's also some fee in lieu that may be required. And then pocket parks, there are pocket parks dedicated in both filing 7 and 8 that would serve this site. And then in terms of open space, there are 9.678 acres provided in the adjacent filing number 7. And so they've all kind of worked together in terms of the PD to meet these requirements. So on the screen now are the approval criteria that we reviewed the preliminary plat against and found that they met all of these requirements. And so, in terms of public hearing notices and processes, the applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting. It was back in June. The Planning Commission held a public hearing in September of last year. The town council originally heard this project, I think it was in October, and it was requested by the applicant to continue to tonight because they did not have their full team available. So originally, everything was properly posted, noticed, but none of that has to get repeated since it was continued. Oh, there's the continued date. It was at the 10/28 meeting. Sorry, I missed that. So we do find that the application complies with preliminary plat approval criteria, and we recommend that town council adopt a resolution approving the preliminary plat. We have 2 conditions on there, just making sure they execute a development agreement at the time of final plat and make any technical corrections to any of the documents as directed by town staff. So the applicant does have a presentation prepared. They'll go through some of the technical aspects of it. But that does conclude the staff presentation at this time. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, and is there somebody here to go through the applicant presentation? Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Council. My name is Ziggy Files. I'm with Terracina Design. I'm the planner and landscape architect for the project here at Canyon Creek Filing 11. First off, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I'd also like to thank town staff for their presentation, as well as their support through the preliminary process. Staff has already covered a lot of technical details of the project, so we'll go through a brief presentation talking about the overall project, how it fits in with Canyon Creek a little bit more, and then also some items that got brought up in Planning Commission. With me here this evening is Dan Glasso with Tri-Point Homes, the builder, David Tyson with LJA, our civil engineer, and Brian Haran with Galloway, our traffic engineer. I'll now turn it over briefly to Dan to share a few words about Tri-Point Homes, and also we'll be available for any questions after our presentation, if you have any.
Good evening, and thank you again.
If you just move the microphone. Yeah,
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you again for hearing this tonight. Tri-Point Homes is started in 2012, kind of out of the end of the downturn. Moved to Colorado there in the end of 2012, and has been here since. We've built roughly 2,000 homes in Colorado since 2012. We're a national builder, as you can see on the map there. We're in a handful of different states there. I think there's 12. What's not shown is we're also in, well, South Carolina's on there. We're also in Florida and Georgia. That's serviced out of a South Carolina. Georgia's serviced out of a South Carolina division, and Florida has its own division. So in Colorado, locally, we've got projects currently in Arvada, Aurora, Berthoud, Castle Pines, Commerce City, Firestone, Littleton, and Longmont that we're working on, all building homes and delivering them to homeowners.
Thanks, Dan. Just want to show here a brief overview how the site fits into the Canyon Creek development. Our site's there highlighted in white. As Chris stated, it was part of the Canyon Creek PD that was approved in 2001 for 275 units. It was also planned with filing 8.
Please speak into the microphone.
This portion, it was platted with filing 8, but the intent was always to have townhomes in this portion to provide a diversity of housing mix.
Please speak into the microphone.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Like stated, yeah, so platted with filing 8, the tract was designated for townhomes to provide housing variety in this area. So with filing 7 detached single-family, Lafferty providing single-family detached and estates lots, filing 8 with paired homes, and 11 would provide 81 townhomes for the area. This balance ensures Erie continues to offer a range of housing options for future and current residents. This slide here shows the infrastructure that was completed with filing 7 and 8, shown in solid purple. That includes the extension of Lombardi/Jasper Road from the intersection of Tulane and Jasper in the south, all the way north to the constructed roundabout on J Road. It also includes spine trail along the north portion of the property that was constructed with filing 7, along with internal roads that our project is tying into. Our infrastructure proposed for the area is shown in dashed. We continue the street network north and then connecting into Lafferty to the west, along with that continuation of alleys that were provided within filing 8. Our project is utilizing connections for the water, sanitary, and storm management in this area, and it was determined by staff and our consultants that there's capacity to serve the 81 homes in the area. I want to bring up an item that got brought up with Planning Commission is traffic and our traffic memo. There was some concerns about the study itself and it relying on the original study that was done in 2001. Wanted to point out some few items. The original study was done in 2021. It projected to 2025 and 2040. Our portion wasn't included in there, so the memo was drafted to present our traffic flows onto the infrastructure plan for 7 and 8. It was also determined by staff that the trips generated by our site are minimal and do not require any improvements beyond what was provided in 7 and 8 to service our community safely. Also, our traffic engineer, Brian with Galloway, is here, so if you have any other questions about traffic, he's available. Chris also mentioned about open space and how the parks were dedicated for the project. Really, the intent was this being townhomes and almost acting like a future phase of filing 8. The parks were consolidated in that south corner by the regional pond to satisfy all that was required. We were required 0.25 acres for the 169 units in filing 8, including the 81 homes that we're proposing. The 0.25 acres required, it was dedicated almost 1 acre, 0.96 acres. So really our project focused on creating pedestrian connections to enhance already established trails within filing 8 and connecting our residents and future residents to the existing trails surrounding our property. Here's a detailed site plan of our project. Really want to highlight how it's tied into filing 8 and kind of extending already existing infrastructure along with alleys and roadways. Extending the central green court to provide pedestrian connections to the north to the spine trail that's along the railroad or the RTD tracks. Also creating strong pedestrian connections east and west to the trail that runs along the regional trail or the regional ditch or regional pond, I should say, sorry. Our townhomes, we're proposing 81 townhomes, all 2-car garages with additional tandem parking spaces in the back for the central units. We worked with staff to distribute parking in the community. We know that's a concern sometimes in these these townhome products. We are providing 100 spaces more than required. We're providing 289 spaces and 189 are required. Here's a rendering we did for Lombardi Street frontage. Really this just highlighting the multiple elevations that we're going to provide with our product. We have 3 elevation types: farmhouse, prairie, mid-century, modern. Each townhome offers 2 to 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, approximately 100 or 1,500 square feet, 2-car alley-loaded garages, an oversized front porch, outdoor living space out on green courts. We're The home prices is projected in the low to mid 500s. The next few slides were some items that got brought up in Planning Commission. We just wanted to make council aware of them and show how we could answer those. One of the items that got brought up was drainage for this area. Obviously, we've heard from residents today the concern with drainage. Just want to show the basin that our portion flows into is east of Lombardi Street, the majority of it. It was designed to be captured in the regional pond that's existing. We're adding volume to that regional pond to capture and treat the water that's generated from our site, but not impacting anything downstream. We met with staff. We also met with the Mile High Flood District, and everything was determined that our project will not have any adverse impacts on drainage in the area. Another item that got brought up in Planning Commission is boring locations, where they were, how many were done, why they were done. Really, this first slide shows there's two issues that come with the boring. There's the mine subsidence piece, and then there's also the geotech that comes with the foundation and the infrastructure design. This first slide shows the mine subsidence. A mine subsidence report was done for 7 and 8, but Colorado Geological Survey, a review agency for the town of Erie, determined that there was some concerns that the mapping for the historic mines done around the property didn't capture everything, and there might be mining activity under the site. You could see the mapping kind of highlighted in blue, orange, and yellow, and also all the boring locations that were done in previous studies for the area. As you can see, there were no borings in those under filing 11, so is determined by staff along with our consultant, Western Ecological, to complete 3 more borings in these locations shown in purple at a depth of 150 feet to determine if there's any mine subsidence activity under the project. That report showed that there was determined that there was no mine subsidence activity or mining activity done under this portion of the site. And there's some speculation that, and based on the borings, that the coal seams were really small in this area, so they just didn't capture this area. Also, the railroad to the north kind of created a barrier that they didn't go south into. So that's kind of why the mapping never showed any extension into this property. So that's kind of the first piece. The second piece is the geotech report that was done. And this is more involving the foundations and also the infrastructure that's planned for the area. These 12 bores were significantly smaller because they were determined, they're 25 feet, right, 25 to 30. And these are just more for foundation designs and infrastructure designs to make sure that they meet town standards. So with these boring locations, we determined that there'll be crawl spaces for the units.
Yes, the units will be on crawl spaces.
Yes. Based on water levels that these boring locations determined. And the infrastructure and everything will be designed to meet the criteria of the town based on these borings. So that's kind of all the boring locations. And then we've met with staff, where staff also sent a letter that they don't anticipate any more borings needed for the site based on the studies and everything that's been done. In conclusion, Canyon Creek Filing 11 completes the Canyon Creek, or part of this portion of the Canyon Creek community, in a way that provides housing diversity, strengthens roads and trail connections, and delivers attractive, livable neighborhoods. On behalf of our team, thank you again for your time and
Into, if you can see up in the corner above the top yellow arrow, there's an additional retention facility that's being built there, or detention facility. I apologize, to control the flow coming specifically off of Canyon Creek 11. So it'll go into that pond before it goes into the regional detention pond. The regional detention pond outflow will remain the same as it is today. But in meeting with staff and in meeting with Mile High Flood District, they did recommend that we added this pond in the corner, so pond inside of a pond, But this pond will control all the flow coming off of Canyon Creek Filing 11. Then it discharges into the regional detention pond, and the regional detention pond is going to discharge as into the regional detention pond, and the regional detention pond is going to discharge as it currently does, which is to the if you see the historical outfall there with the yellow star, that's where it'll discharge, same as it does today.
Okay, thank you. Also, bike paths, you're not too far from the elementary school and the middle school, so you're going to have, kids riding their bikes from your development in that direction. What kind of bike paths are going to be available between there and the schools?
We tie into the proposed bike.
I also saw in some of the material that there were 8 plugged and abandoned wells in the area. Where are those located?
Yeah, there's 8 plug-in abandoned wells. They're in the central portion of the site here in this landscape tract, right where the road bends. Here. We worked with staff to determine the setbacks for those. And
Guidance, the 12 borings we did for the preliminary geotech study, and there was a question if there were additional borings done for the oil wells. There were not, because the environmental study did not require them.
Okay, thank you. And when were those plugged and abandoned? For this is?
It's planned development within the Canyon Creek plan development.
Okay, so it's okay. It's part of the PD.
Yes, it's part of the PD. Do you want more specifics on what's allowed in that area, or?
Yeah, if you could elaborate on.
Right. So it's been designated originally in 2000 when the PD was originally a little higher than you'd normally see, like for the comprehensive plan designation, but it is consistent with the plan development. In fact, the number of units they're proposing is significantly under what the PD originally or currently would allow, with 275. They're doing 88, and then combined with filing 8, it's a total of 169.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Okay, Councilmember Hoback.
Thank you. Continuing on with Councilmember Mortalero's questions on the groundwater, could you pull up that picture or slide as well, please?
And they're not doing basements either, so they're doing crawl space.
Yeah.
So there should be no impact to that.
Okay, understanding that surface water, I guess I still have the same concern with the groundwater, but.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any issues with the groundwater. I don't think there are any.
I'm sorry?
They are doing crawl spaces as opposed to basements. Was that at soils or?
That was a geotech report that determined that.
Additionally, our townhome product isn't built on basements. We always build our townhome product. This specific product gets built on crawl spaces, so it does fit in well with the soils.
Number of homes, but we are building more and more in that part of town, and our town residents' number one concern in the recent survey was east-west movement of traffic, and a lot of these will have convenient access to 287. Do we know if the 287 coalition or the state any plans for a light out there? It's very dark at nighttime at that intersection.
Yeah, so currently the coalition has a project with the Colorado Department of Transportation with CDOT to evaluate essentially a number of the intersections along that corridor. And the town of Erie was part of the coalition, worked very hard to essentially bring about funding for that project, and now we are tracking essentially what CDOT is planning to do along that corridor. Some of the current work is evaluating the intersections to make sure that there are improvements. And as part of that process, we are trying to figure out essentially what the analysis is saying about the intersections, what type of lighting, what type of traffic signals, what type of access, what type of safety features are being added at the intersections that feed into Erie and Lafayette and other corridors, other communities along the corridor. So we're definitely tracking that, but there isn't a clear answer as of yet. The time frame that we're hearing from CDOT related to a 30% design is April of this year. So we will have some information related to CDOT's plans and then have an opportunity to react to that, to include additional safety measures.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see that kept on the front burner as best as possible, and I know you probably have equal or better priorities, so thank you.
Thank you.
Those remain my two concerns about the project, but no more questions.
All right, Councilmember Bear?
Thank you. You can stay there. So we did just have a 287 coalition meeting, and so I'll just start with kind of that. I'm curious for the applicant. Have you guys been coordinating with CDOT on the 287 design at all? That's happening right now, and they're going through updates that we expect in April. Because I think that they look at this corridor as ag land, right? And so I'm just curious if they're also taking into account all of the development for Canyon Creek, Lafferty, as, you know, was it J Road that will connect with 287 right off of Lombardi in the roundabout?
Yeah, so there's Jasper roadway and then J roadway. They're very similar in name. So I'll just mention that I think from our perspective, from the town's perspective, we have been advocating for the growth that we have based on our land use plans, but I'm not sure if the applicant has been in touch with CDOT about the actual project.
We have not had any additional coordination with CDOT.
Okay, well, I remember that Ms. Paddock said that she would love to hear from folks so that they can make sure that their data is correct. I think they were using the Dr. Cog land use plans and growth, which sometimes don't reflect current up-to-date plans. So certainly that is an avenue that I think we should be reaching out and making sure that they know not only just filing 11, but the entire area, because it would be frustrating to have to update your update. So, and those plans are happening right now, so it's a great time to jump into those. And then, let's see. The traffic study that looks at, I think it was from 2021, and there was an update. What is the scope? Does it go all the way to 287 or stop at County Line? Or
We could bring Brian with Galloway up to speak about that.
Appreciate that. Brian Horan with Galloway did the update on the study. So the original study was much larger in scope because it supported the whole PD. And as was mentioned, it evaluated a much higher unit count. So we overlaid our trips onto that information to provide a conservative analysis. And then in practice, sort of distribute our trips out into the network until they sort of stop making an impact. Because the unit count is particularly low, we really don't, we get as far south as Tulane, and then as far north as the roundabout. And after that point, our trips don't really sort of move the needle on the results and conclusions of the previous study.
and so is that just for filing 11, or was it the whole, like all of the impacts from the entire development?
So the original study is for the impacts for the entire development,
Okay.
and then we add our trips on top of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see. So thank you for the traffic report. The flooding concerns. I'm just curious. You mentioned that they're not expected to impact or further impact drainage concerns, but the drainage concerns are already there. So I guess I'm curious to see, and since the plans overlap into the Lafferty development, I'm curious how those are speaking to each other, how those plans are addressing concerns that we already see, and is there opportunity to maybe eliminate some of what we're already seeing through what you have planned here? Do you anticipate that?
The comments I heard this evening are from further to the north and west of our site. I haven't heard any comments, and we haven't had any concerns that we've heard coming from where our site discharges, which is that little star there where it says Basin Historic Outfall. So I haven't heard any concerns. We did evaluate this basin and what our contribution to that basin would be. That again resulted in a meeting with staff and with Mile High Flood. That resulted in us adding an additional control structure in the would be the northwest corner of the detention pond, the regional detention pond. So we did evaluate the basin and what our addition to the basin would be stormwater wise, and that's what resulted was that addition of the pond in the regional detention pond. So that'll be a full pond with a control structure, a controlled outlet structure. That controlled outlet structure discharges to the regional detention pond. We're unaware of any issues leaving from the regional detention pond currently.
Okay. So, Mr. LaRue, do you have any insight on that? Or?
Yeah, I can share a little bit. We do have our development engineer that reviewed this in case you need something more technical. But basically, the understanding is that this development drains or is separated from the drainage basin from the other area so that they don't interact. Based on that understanding, we didn't determine that there would be an impact to the questions that you're asking. So I don't think there's anything to do based on that information in terms of the flooding issues on that other side. Those are ongoing. I think that was mentioned earlier.
Okay. Even this, so the blue outline, and there's a blue shaded area on the slide that's up on my screen right now, and I can't see what number it is, but it does overlap into other parts of the development, Canyon Creek filing 7 and the Lafferty development. Is that movement of water? What is that showing us?
That just captures the basin of that drainage corridor.
Okay.
So it's the area that's studied and goes to that outfall. So each drainage report's broken out into different basins, and that's the basin that's highlighted that discharges to the east. There's grading issues. So grading, it flows the other way after it goes to that portion, and then south, it flows into a different basin.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I would love to have those flooding issues. I mean, even if we don't anticipate more, they're existing, and so how are we making sure that all of the drainage and retention ponds are adequate for what we're experiencing in the area?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, I that's ongoing in terms of the issues we've been discussing. I'm not aware of any issues with this pond or these areas that are draining to this pond that would cause concern at this point. I mean, that's certainly something we'd want to keep an eye on.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Frank, I think I heard you say that staff is satisfied with reduced setbacks. Can you tell us about the reduction?
Yeah, so again, David Frank, Director of Environmental Services. Our municipal code, the default setback from a plugged-in abandoned well is 150-foot radius. That is sort of a worst-case scenario. If we have a well that was plugged in the latter half of the 20th century and we don't really know much more about it, we give it a wide berth. In this case, these are really very recently plugged wells. The operator followed all best management practices. We reviewed all of the remediation. The locations of the wells are known precisely, and were plugged correctly. So in this case, a reduction to a 50 by 100 foot setback is appropriate.
Okay, so 100 foot, so from 150 to 100 foot setback?
It's a 50 by 100 foot rectangle.
Yeah, okay. So I'm
on
thinking,
each well, and then they sort of start overlapping when they're drilled this closely together.
Okay.
And that size of setback stems from sort of the minimum that you could get a workover rig and a pipe truck over that boring if you did need to re-enter it in 50 years, 500 years, 5,000 years time.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Of course, in 5,000 years, we'll probably have much cooler things than drill rigs, I hope.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Further questions from council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yep. Thank you. Just have a few here.
First off, can you explain? So, the areas of the homes that are directly adjacent to, there's a few homes in filing 8 that butt up to the filing 11. What are the setbacks between homes for those areas on the, especially on the west side? Those two, so there's another housing type in filing 8.
Yeah, what you see here are colored in yellow from filing 8 is the actual lot got platted with 8, not the actual structure. But we're maintaining a 10-foot building separation from the proposed homes.
Okay.
And then that's the minimum we do when it's adjacent to that project, or that's the minimum we could do for building separation.
Okay, so since these are alley loaded, I guess I'm saying, and I can't read, is that Nighthawk Street? So that's the alley to get to the ones on the west side, on the southwest side. So for the homes that'll be in filing 8, is there going to be fencing to that alley, or what is?
It's an alley loaded product, just like ours. So they.
It's similar. Okay.
They'll be using alleys for their garage access as well.
Yeah.
Those are duplexes to the south, and they're oriented, either their fronts are toward a garden court, a public street, but they all have alley loaded garages. So they'll share the alley.
Thank you. Okay. And I just, I was reading some of the planning commission responses, so I understand the additional borings for the mining mitigation, but I think you've explained that well. But is there any other thing as far as expansive soils or any other issues in this area?
That was covered in the 12 preliminary geotech report borings.
Okay. Yep.
So those 12 borings did evaluate for swell.
Okay.
And the project swell will be mitigated through over-X.
Okay.
So it'll still be required for an over-X for these foundations, even though they're crawl spaces. It's typically 12 feet on a crawl spaces versus 10 foot on a basement. Okay. So that would be a requirement of our geotech.
Okay.
For these projects or for these townhomes.
And then my last question, just for so are these all the same product type in this area? Is this, so I know in the central kind of lane of these, I see they've got kind of a central lawn area, and then the other ones, I guess, just front out to the whatever the street that goes through. So is there?
Yes, it's all the same product. They all have outdoor living spaces out front, so it's just how they interact, either on a street or on a green court or a garden court.
Okay.
But it's all the same product.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and that's the requirement of the UDC in terms of where you can front townhome units, or other units for that matter, either on a 30-foot garden court, public street. Those are the main areas where you'd want them to front.
Okay. We do have different floor plans. They won't all be the exact same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different floor plans and different size buildings.
I just wasn't sure what the central lawn area there.
Yes,
I didn't know if that was a different product. So okay, I think that's all the questions I have. So, all right, thank you.
All right. Great.
Thanks.
Councilman O'Connor.
Most of my questions have been answered. I've got one relating to parking. You mentioned something about that there was 100 more spots added. Does that include parking on Wagon Drive and Bluebird Street, or where are those additional 100+ spots?
Yes, it includes on-street parking along those public right-of-ways. They have on-street parking along with tandem spaces behind the garages, and then also additional pull-in parking along alleys. You could see some of them to the south there. I'll try to provide them in a radius or in proximity. All the guest parking has to be in a proximity of 200 feet of a front door.
Okay.
So that's kind of the distribution of them.
Where is that on the northern part of Nighthawk?
There's spaces here. There's spaces here along with the tandem spaces behind each garage unit in the central portion.
They can park on Lombardi, is that correct, I think? Or no?
Don't think so. It's a collector street.
Okay, probably not.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I was mainly curious about the parking availability on Wagon and Bluebird, just because oftentimes those guest spots fill up and don't turn over a lot. So, my second question is regarding the schools, and noted that it was adequate, that the school system can support it. What school is, like, elementary school, middle school, are zoned for this portion of the development, actually the entire development?
I know we did get a referral letter from the school district, and they said we had adequate. I'd have to pull up what elementary school. I do know it's Red Hawk. At Red Hawk Elementary to the south is the elementary school that it'd tie into. I'm not sure the middle school, and then the high school would be the high school. Right.
And Red Hawk can support that?
Oh, that's what it says. It said the school district expressed no concerns about capacity.
Okay. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you.
Councilmember
I just
Pasquarelli.
had one question about the subsidence, and they answered it.
Okay. Sounds good. My question was on drainage. Main question was on drainage. I think that's been answered. This is separate from where we're seeing the other issues, separate in the drainage basin. And so I'm comfortable with that answer. All right, I'm going to close the public comment portion of this hearing, and then I'll bring it back to council to see if there's any further deliberation amongst us or a motion to approve Resolution 26009.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Bear.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And I guess my only concern is that we are seeing flooding in the area, and just keeping that in mind and knowing that that is an issue, I would love to see the resolution to that. And just knowing that all of these parcels inform each other and the way that water moves and the way we move dirt and change the way water moves. So I'm glad that they did such a thorough study, and they found that they needed to expand the pond, the detention pond, and there's been some thoughtful consideration for that. But I would like to see a resolution to kind of this whole section, whole area. So, and then also the coordination with CDOT on the plans for 287 that are happening right now. Like, that's literally between last week and April. They're really informing those surveys and plans. So it's a great time to plug into that. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Is there a motion to approve? Now I got to find it again. Resolution 26009.
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries, and that can carry on. Thank you for coming out tonight. All right, our next item is item 2026-78, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Erie adding a new section 61120 to the Erie Municipal Code to regulate the operation of electric-assisted bicycles. This is a long time coming, and I'm excited to get this conversation going. I thought John was going to come up here because he was walking so deliberately, but no, we will not put John on the spot for this one.
Deliberately leaving.
I'll look to our town attorney with assistance from our chief of police for this particular item.
Mayor, Council, Lee Mathis, Chief of Police. This has been a long time issue for us with the e-bikes ordinance. I think you all received a copy of the ordinance. I'm hopeful that any questions about the fine details of the ordinance goes to our town attorney, Brina, but I just want to speak to the enforceability of it. I know there's some questions raised tonight about how we will enforce that. We do have a bike patrol team. We have our own e-bikes, believe it or not. They are class 2, by the way. They're supposed to be class 2. And we will have officers out on the trails as much as we can and when staffing allows at appropriate times to enforce this new ordinance. I know you know the key details, I think. I'm sure you've all reviewed it, but I'll just remind everybody it does define a Class 1, 2, and 3 e-bike. Class 1 and 2 e-bikes are bikes that go below 25 miles an hour and are allowed on trails and sidewalks. Class 3 are bikes that go up to 28 miles an hour, and they are allowed on the roadway. And that's a very brief synopsis, but this will allow us to enforce those things. There's also a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit that is in there that we will enforce with radar, LiDAR, and checkpoints or whatever we can come up with to do that on the trails and the sidewalks for e-bikes.
All right, and my understanding is we call all three of these classifications e-bikes, but the Class 3 may not have any pedals. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, the Class 3 e-bike will allow you to go 28 miles an hour unassisted without pedaling.
Yeah, and so this is why I think some people maybe properly designate these as more like motorcycles.
Right, and it's important to clarify also, Mayor and Council, that there are a lot of things out there right now that are not classified as Class 1, 2, or 3 e-bikes. There are bikes that go faster. They get them from all over. They don't have a classification. None of those are allowed on our trails by our code, and we did make a slight modification in there on that to make that clear, that e-bikes are allowed. Anything else is not allowed on the trails or the roadway outside of bicycles and e-bikes.
All right, and then the last comment I have, and I'll open it up to council, of course, is that signage will be important. How do we get the message out, right? And I think there were examples that I'd sent in from Lafayette that had signs along the trail. Winter Park, which I was just on one of the trails up there, and they had great signage on speed limits and reminders. I'd certainly like staff to bring back some type of plan to us to consider or just share what you're going to do to get the message out. I think would be really, really helpful. Oh, and John is back. And
he might have some ideas on signs, maybe.
Yeah. Spot. So I'll turn it over to John for an update on that.
Yeah, thank you. John Peruzzi, Transportation Mobility Manager. You know, when it comes to signage, a number of things can be really helpful. I think having really great examples from other communities that are dealing with the same problem and have really clear signage around key locations, entrances to trails, for example, from on-street locations is one way of kind of identifying the communication between the differentiation of on-street versus trail locations. And then posting the ordinance on a sign also helps with enforcement. That's another key piece. Of course, graphics and information that really does help with, you know, our young constituents is really the way to go to really communicate the restriction, but having the ordinance on there is also helpful for the enforcement bit, and we're able to do that here.
Yeah, and I'll also just point out, you'll be happy to know those conversations have already kind of started taking place with Luke Bollinger, our Director of Parks and Recreation, and my Public Information Officer, Amber Luttrell, on how are we going to push that out education-wise, and then where are those signs going to be and what are they going to look like, because we want to do that. And know that we will take an enforcement stance of education first for a while until everybody knows what's out there, and then we'll start issuing tickets once we feel like we've had adequate time for the community to understand the ordinance.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think temporary signs are also a strategy that I think it was Lafayette was using, just because they jump out at you because it's not like a permanent thing that people start to ignore. Obviously, I'm going to.
Right, and that also helps us.
That I'm going to figure that out, or council, but I'm sure you'll be considering that.
Right, and that helps us, and we've discussed that. Like when we have specific areas with complaints, so if we have a specific area that's coming up, that gosh, this area is really having a lot of issues, we can put those temporary signs out there and draw attention to it.
Kind of like the speed trailer.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that. All right, let me open it up to council. I'll just start with Councilmember Barron. I'm just going to work my way all the way around this way.
Thank you. This has been a topic of conversation for years now. So I'm excited to see something that's workable, that supports the entire community. Councilmember Hoback and I get to work with our seniors quite a bit, and this is a concern with that group. I also have a 14-year-old mountain biker, and so this is a concern with that group as well. He does not have an e-bike, so I'll just... Don't look for him. He's not out there. Unless he borrows mine, which is an old lady e-bike, he says. So he won't be on it. But anyway, I just have been thinking about this as an ordinance that really is effective, that keeps the community safe, all of the community. And so that means like the people who are, walking, pushing strollers, walking dogs, and that feel like they wouldn't be able to jump out of the way, for example, which is a story that I've heard. And then also the kiddos who are out on the trails in the community, riding their bikes, which is also something like as a mom, we want our kids to be, go do something, go outside. And so just looking at it as something that supports the community and not just, criminalizes kiddos or, cuts off an option for them to hang out together. So I'm saying that because I know my son is at home watching this conversation right now. Hi, Brady. But I loved hearing what you said about the outreach piece, the education piece. So I do feel like there's opportunity. And then our commenter earlier, and I wonder if you could kind of speak to this, talked about maybe having a working group or some kind of task force outreach, because I think that bringing all the parties to the table could be, well, it's always beneficial, right, to have the conversation. But like, what could that look like? How could we utilize something like that in the community?
Right. I think it'd be important, like you said, to include all parties. We have our school resource officers that we could utilize and get some of the high school kids involved, some of the kids at the middle school, help push out that education. That this really is about safety. It's about keeping our kids safe, keeping our trails safe, and having everybody feel safe when they're out there walking, biking, traveling on those trails. And I think that's a great idea. We can certainly look at that for an educational piece to bring in the school district and students and trail users to help us identify where the big problem areas are and where we need to do more education.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. I think this is going to be good for the community. I like the idea of having continuity, like especially in Coal Creek Trail when you're leaving, Lafayette and Broomfield and coming into Erie, and then eventually the BERT will have that all the way to Boulder. I mean, just having continuity makes sense, because if it's legal in Broomfield and all of a sudden you cross into Erie and it's not legal anymore, we just have to be mindful of those kinds of things. But
and that's a great point. I know this ordinance was drafted with that in mind, to keep that consistency among communities, so there's no confusion when you go from Lafayette to Erie. So we tried to do that as best we could.
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Mortellero.
Yeah, I'm excited about this ordinance. Thanks for working together and working, looking at the other communities and whatnot when drafting it for consistency. And I just, I echo that. I think education and signage is critical. With the schools, with folks, we have first class trail system, and we need to keep it safe. So I know it's a challenge, but I think it's something that we're up for the challenge. So I'm excited to see that. I did have one question. There are some bikes that can be switched from class 2 to 3 to 4, or 2 to 3. Do we need to clarify that in the ordinance? Is that something?
The bikes need to be labeled to be considered class 1, 2, or 3. And if they are not labeled, we will consider them not an e-bike, and you can't operate them on the trail.
Okay.
1 or 2, and then class 3, obviously, on the roadway. But if they don't have a label on them classifying them, then we're not going to be able to determine whether they're allowable on the trails. And according to our ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, we will not allow those to be operated.
Okay, so that'll be an important part of the education and
Right.
signage as well. So appreciate that.
All right, Councilmember Hoback.
Thank you. You've spent a lot of time on this, and I appreciate it. We've spent some time on it. Most of the community, there's a wide range of what they want. We're after safety, and appreciate the challenges of enforcement. So thank you, and let's communicate the heck out of this. So.
Yeah, Councilmember, I appreciate it. We will need the community's help. We are limited in our staffing. We won't be able to have an officer on the trail at all times. We have laws that prohibit speeding, and guess what? We still have speeders. So we will need the community's help to make sure this ordinance is effective and helps in terms of safety.
Thanks, Al. That's all.
All right, I'll loop around. Councilor Pestromelli.
Thank you, Chief. This was long due, and I had only two concerns. One was how do we enforce it, and between cities, how do we make it a smooth transition? I think you answered both of them.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor O'Connor, any comments?
Thank you. I think I missed the part where it has to be labeled.
If we can't determine what it is, e-bikes are sold with labels, and I'll let our town attorney.
Okay.
Correct. Title 42 requires that there are very specific requirements for labeling to include down to Arial size 9 font. And so if that label does not exist, it's not lawful under Colorado state statute. So we don't need to
Makes sense.
incorporate that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I think my only other, I emailed in about the comment about under, changing under section 1, just adding that, if the under age 18, they should wear, should be required for wear a helmet similar to the motorcycle law. But that's up to council whether they want that added or not.
If I might, one more time, I did locate a state statute after I sent that communication for a class 3 electric assisted bicycle. It is required. State statute is silent on class 1 and 2.
That was it. Thank you.
Right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work on this, and to our town attorney, thanks for all your writing all this up. So I have a question that probably this goes beyond this role, but I know we had some folks from Erie Highlands here earlier. This is a concern right now in our neighborhood, but there's a bunch of kids that's been using Clayton Park as their personal off-roading thing, and it's caused some damage there. So in addition to what we see on the roads, like what enforcement mechanisms are we having to make sure people are riding these in the appropriate places and not causing damage?
Right. And that would, again, go back to the community. Please let us know when that's going on. Report it as much as you can. We'll try and get out there and do extra patrols. I can't guarantee we're going to catch them. I think somebody alluded to consequences if they don't stop, because that has happened to our officers where they've tried to stop somebody on an e-bike and they don't stop. And they just keep going. We do have an eluding statute or an eluding ordinance that we can charge them with, so there are consequences if they don't stop. But we need the community's help when those things are happening. Please give us a call so that we can come out. If there's damage to the property, that's another ordinance we can charge them with outside of just the e-bikes, but we need to know it's happening. And if they'll call us, we'll come out and do our best to enforce it.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So this is one of the first things that I started to talk to our town manager when I got elected, and it's government's slow for all the right reasons, and it's nice when these come to fruition. So obviously I'm going to be supporting this. I'm also open to ordinance changes after we have this open for a year, enough time to understand what maybe we need to adjust in the future. All right, with that, I will see if there's a motion to approve ordinance 002, 2026.
So move.
Second. Go ahead.
So we have a motion, and I think the second was that Councilmember Hobeck? Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Yes.
I do. I missed a couple. I missed a couple things I was going to ask. So regarding enforcement, so education first, and then enforcement after. Does this lead down the path potentially of needing to have park rangers creating that position?
We just recently put in our ordinances that non-sworn or non-post-certified officers can give tickets. Could we get there? We could. I mean, it could, we have the authority in our ordinance to have other personnel issue tickets. Certainly warnings, I think, would be okay. With parks personnel being out there and saying, hey, you can't operate that, or you're going too fast. We would have to put some infrastructure, I think, in Parks and Rec to get to park rangers, but that's a possibility, I think.
I just was curious about, how are we planning for that potential need? or at least thinking about that potential.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason that we passed that ordinance early on. I'm not sure if you guys were on that council or not, but we did pass the ability for other authorized town staff as designated by the town manager to issue citations for non-criminal violations.
And so the town attorney, I don't know if this went out to the rest of council or not. I was asking about what the penalties are. So it's a Class B traffic infraction with a minimum punishment of $15 and a maximum punishment up to $100. No specific repeat offender provision. However, the judge can move up the range of fines depending on the severity and frequency of the conduct at her discretion. So if they're under 16, you can still apply a traffic infraction?
Yeah, you certainly can. It can, regardless of your age or your license status, there are points that can be applied against your privilege to drive. So if they happen to get a ticket at age 15, that's a Class B traffic infraction, which I don't even know if those come with any points. But if they do, those points can apply against their privilege to drive. So when they go to apply for a driver's license, if they've got an e-bike ticket, and it's 2 points, but it might be a 0-point offense. I don't know. I'd need our town prosecutor to probably weigh in on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My guess is that there are no points because they're not outlined in the model traffic code for points, where the MTC does outline the points offenses and their the points that are available.
Most bicycle offenses are no-point offenses, so I'm assuming these are the same.
Okay. Can you follow up on that? Just because that would be part of the education program if actually there are points.
Right.
Put against someone's license or future license.
Yep.
They should know about that.
We'll make sure if we know they're getting points or not against their license.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. We have an e-bike ordinance. Appreciate all the work on this. All right, we'll go on to our last agenda item tonight, and that's item 2026-79, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Erie restricting open burning in the town. Chief, I'll turn it right back over to you.
That's why I'm still up here. So, yeah, Mayor, Council, this is a modification to our fire setting ordinance. And what this does is prohibits folks from burning yard waste and garbage in their fire pits. It does allow fire pits, but designates a certain size that can't be over, I'll have to ask Brina the details, 3 feet in diameter, I think. And then they also have to be covered with a mesh screen that is at least 1/4 inch mesh screening to keep the embers off of the flying out of the fire pit. There is no distance in there. We discussed distance at the study session, but there is no distance currently outside of what's recommended in fire code, the uniform fire code, from a residence or a building.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council for questions. Okay, Councilmember Hobeck.
Again, thank you for your work on this. And again, different views within the community on what there is, and a lot of it's going to come down to what is enforceable in somebody's backyard. So I do have a request from a resident that we get the word out in as much documentation as possible on the website and to HOAs. HOAs are standing by to communicate to their residents. Without going into any further detail of some of the requests, just get the word out. It's a good ordinance.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I also received feedback from residents on both sides. There was a question about grandfathering in some folks that might be a little bigger, have a little bigger fire pit in their backyard, and they've had those. Grandfathering creates a very difficult enforcement situation because we don't know who bought when, and at that point, do you really want the ordinance? Because I can't prove that this person bought it after they were grandfathered. So that makes it very difficult. But I will say in terms of enforcement, the police department will not have fire pit patrols. We will do e-bike patrols, but fire pit patrols probably aren't our thing.
unless, it's causing a neighborhood disturbance or somebody, if we drive by and you've got a bonfire, yeah, we're going to stop and see what's going on. But usually this is going to be a complaint-based ordinance that we enforce, and that's really how we got here, is people were complaining about neighbors who were having large fires of yard waste uncovered and
Unattended.
unattended, and creating a public safety issue, and that's the enforcement stance we'll take on this.
Thank you.
Yep. Councilmember O'Connor.
So I think I've mentioned my concerns before about this, and if this passes, I mean, there's going to be quite a few residents that are going to be immediately out of compliance with this, which is why I wanted to see it grandfathered in, and was trying to think of ways, how do you not punish people who did nothing wrong? And
I'm trying to process how I understand what you're saying.
They didn't do it.
I mean, they had it before, and
They
now
had
it's
it
illegal.
before, and now, yeah.
And there's lots of instances of that where a community decides that something needs to be regulated, and so your fire pit becomes. It's happened, I'm sure, in Thornton when they passed their burning ordinance. I mean, back when I worked in Lamar, Colorado, you could burn whatever you wanted, but then they passed an ordinance that says, it's got to be contained, and it's got to have a mesh screen, and it's got to. I think that's okay to do that, and just for the public safety to say, hey, these are the guidelines, and that's the way we'll enforce them. We'll enforce them on a complaint basis, and trust us to use our discretion in a way that we're not. Again, we'll do education first. We'll give them a chance to come in compliance, but then if we continue to get complaints, at some point we will have to take enforcement action.
Sure. I mean, but some of these are more permanent fire pits that are already over 3 feet. That's kind of a big ask to have someone modify that when they were doing nothing wrong to begin with. So.
And I don't want you to get the idea that I'm up here advocating for this. This is, lucky for me, a council's decision. I'm just telling you that we can enforce it the way it's written, and if it's something the council feels is in the best interest of the town, we will enforce it to the best of our ability.
Okay. And grandfathering it in the old pits, I mean, you could take a photo of it and it would date, that's a dated photo of what you have currently. And if it gets modified, then they have to comply to the ordinance or the new standard, or this proposed standard.
The council can add a grandfather if they would like. It will present particularly difficult enforcement issues for us.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure, thanks. I guess following up on that thought, I mean, is the end goal, it's the substances that people are burning, or the just presence of a fire pit? Or
we've had complaints on everything from what they're burning, how big the fire is, and that it's uncovered. And that was basically the essence of the complaints we usually get. And so I think we tried to regulate those according to consistency with other communities. We didn't come up with this arbitrarily. We did look at Thornton's and some other communities' burning bans or burning regulations, and we figured these were the most reasonable.
Okay. Yep, I understand the concern. It's like I had some former neighbors that would burn all kinds of things, and so
It can be unnerving.
yeah.
All right, it looks like it's back to me. So I guess the way that I kind of look at this one, I do look at it as the reason we have this is really to prevent embers from flying around. And when you think back to the Marshall Fire, it was the embers that were catching one fire on, or a house on fire, another house on fire. And so, I mean, any fire pit that is out of compliance, it's out of compliance for a reason and creates a greater risk, I guess, is the way I would look at that. And I think if people have the mesh over them and are doing the right things, then it's really not gonna be an issue. It's if that's not happening and embers are flying around, that likely you'd be called. Correct. And like you said, Mayor, we'll look at the entirety of the situation, but the ordinance is what it is, and we will have to enforce what's in there.
If your fire pit's a little large, we'll let you know what the ordinance is. We will, recommend you do whatever it takes. Maybe it's something inside the pit. I don't know what that would look like, but they may have to reduce the size of it according to this ordinance. Yeah.
All right, I'll see if there's a motion to approve ordinance 003-2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'll mention that the open burn ban would be a fine up to $2,650. So it's a little bit more than the e-bike.
It is.
So, and potentially some jail time, which is
Rare,
okay.
but potential.
Potential.
And that's up to a judge, I'm assuming,
That's
right?
correct.
That isn't like you're writing a ticket for $2,000.
That would be determined by the judge in court if they were cited for it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
All right, motion carries 6-1.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to council member reports and announcements. I think I'll just start on my far right with council member Pestromelli, and we'll just work our way down to council member Hoback.
I don't have any comments.
Okay.
Not tonight.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, anything tonight?
Nothing.
All right, council member Bear.
Thank you. I've been to a lot of meetings and I have a lot of updates, but I want to take my time this evening to recognize that in the town of Erie, we lost someone profoundly important this just a couple of days ago. MJ Adams was our affordable housing manager in the town, and she recently moved back east to be with her family. And we just found out the other day that she passed away, and MJ was just a brilliant light and such a kind-hearted person that was just the foundation of every direction she gave and every recommendation she made to council or anything that influenced any ordinance or development in town. And I just am profoundly grateful for her kindness towards me and patience and the way that she taught me, because I didn't know anything about affordable housing or planning, and she was so kind and eager to just share everything, and she knew, and she had so much experience and expertise, and I'm really grateful. And she had such an impact on the entire region, really. I remember being at a workshop, a housing workshop with her. She'd only been on staff for a couple of months, and it was a regional workshop. So tons of municipalities from all over Boulder County were represented at tables in Boulder, and we were all just talking about what are the different things we're doing to address affordable housing in our different municipalities and what's working and what's not, and learning from each other. And she'd only been there for a couple months, but she was given the task of kind of wrapping up the day and taking everything that we had learned and all of our challenges and opportunities and kind of putting a bow on it. And I just remember leaving that room with everyone and just feeling like excited. And she had imparted joy to us about this big problem we were facing. And we all just felt like ready to tackle it instead of overwhelmed by it. And that is, I think, a summation of her, who she was. She just brought so much joy and empowerment to really tough conversations. And I'm just so thankful that I had the opportunity to have my path intersect with hers, because I'll just forever be changed by her kindness and her generosity. And my thoughts are with her daughters and her grandchildren right now, and just wanted to thank her and the universe somewhere for all that she's given to me, and I'm forever changed for knowing her. So thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Mortellaro.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Bear, letting us know. I had no idea. It's very, very sad news. I didn't know MJ well. I'm new to the council, but she seemed like a great lady, and condolences to her family and the staff for for her loss. So thanks.
Councilmember Hoback.
Yes, my thanks to and condolences to the Abrams family. Some good news. We learned today that the town of Erie's credit rating has been bumped up and is as high as it can be for a town, and that is important as we go. That is the town's FICO score. That's how we get rated for our credit, and to have it as high as it can be. Just as we go to the credit markets for certificates of participation and potentially some eventual bond issues is very big, and big kudos to Director Hancock for running a tight ship when providing us with accurate and complete budgets and getting clean audit opinions year after year. This is a years-long effort, and kudos to the Economic Development group for continuing our help build our businesses and our sales tax base to help keep the revenues coming in and keeping our credit rating strong. Thank you.
All right, so that was on my list too. Sarah, I would like you to come up here and maybe just say a couple words on what you think led to the positive change for the town of Erie.
I keep saying this is our Michelin star in the finance world. Director Sarah Hancock, Finance. Thank you for the kind words. Receiving a AAA rating from Moody's is a big deal. We got the call this morning that the gentleman who had interviewed us from Moody's, they review all of our financials, our ACFR, our potential bond issuance or potential debt issuance, in this case, our COPs. And they spend a lot of time combing through our revenue, how our town is growing, what that means for our population. And I quote in the phone call, we have some of the strongest financial metrics and financial trends that they've seen in recent years. So that is a huge testament to the work that the staff has done, that the council has guided, that Town Manager Fleming has ensured that we have been led with fiscal stewardship. And so I'm just incredibly proud that everybody in the town has really, pushed this forward, and then it culminated in us receiving that. So just to overview, our GO bonds and credit rating for Moody's is AAA. Our COPs will be at AA1, which is one notch down and pretty typical for a non-secured type of debt. And our water bonds were upgraded from AA2 to AA1. So it's a big deal all around, and just appreciate the kind words.
All right. Well, awesome. And I think we're also going to be getting information on how we, as Town of Erie citizens, can purchase the bonds behind the COPs.
Yes, absolutely. So now that we have our credit rating, what will kind of come next is we will have our due diligence call next week, which ensures that we are all ready to go for the sale of the certificates of participation and the lease purchase agreement. Then at that point, Stifler, our kind of co-pilot through this, will provide that information, and we'll be able to get kind of a pathway for residents to look at that on the website. So as soon as that's available, we'll have that online.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you. All right, and that comes back to me. I have 3 additional items just to give an update on. Met with our Representative Nagoose, our congressman from District 2. He met with the mayors today. He does this about every 6 weeks. Lots of discussion about what's going on in Minnesota right now and the concerns. And the immediate concern is that a partial government shutdown is likely this Friday, which I was not aware of. And I think there's going to be just a line drawn now, and what that means to us and our community and society, I don't know. But I think it's the right thing to do with what's going on at this point. Second, the Metro Mayors retreat. We do this once a year. It happened last Saturday. And so if you want just a lot of excitement, you get 30-ish mayors together. Lots of interesting topics. Maybe not for most, but certainly for those of us that are neck deep in this. Transportation was one of the biggest issues. Especially around fast tracks, never having been completed, and now new plans coming forward. to try to, get a new plan, and how do we get behind that, and what's going to cost. And we don't have any of the details, but certainly lots of information shared there. The other item that came up was home rule and local control and state laws that have already been passed that some feel, including myself, infringe on local control, and new laws that are being introduced are coming out. There were 4 state level representatives, actually 3 representatives and a senator that were able to answer questions. They were tough questions. It's on everybody's mind. It's not just on Erie's mind. It's not just on Lafayette's mind. It's everywhere. So that happened. And then this morning, Julian and Malcolm, our town manager, and I, we were able to present a state of the town to the chamber. 7:30 in the morning, and the room at Erie Social Club was packed. Pat Vero, the director of the chamber, said there were 85 people who had responded, and I'd say there was at least 85 people in that room this morning. So great conversation, great questions. I'm now working with the town manager to do a virtual town hall, and once details are known with that, the town will communicate that out, and I'm looking forward to doing that as well. All right, with that, we will move into executive session. I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem to make the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to go into executive session to hold conference with the town's water council to determine a position relative to water matters, including discussions related to the town's water supply, development, and growth that may be subject to negotiations, and instruct negotiators pursuant to CRS 24-64024E, and to hold a conference with the town's water council to receive legal advice on specific legal questions pursuant to CRS 24-64024B related to water supply strategies.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. We will not be coming back after the executive session. The meeting will adjourn with the ending of the executive session.